Good day, people. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible. I'm not in my prayer closet today. I'm just out and about, but I just felt the need to record, to speak. This pandemic has been kind of hard and trying and testing on a lot of people. And, fear has been running rampant everywhere. Whether it's people are afraid of being killed by the coronavirus, they're afraid of getting sick and that being their ultimate end, or just afraid to leave your house because of all of the violence that's going on in the streets. And in all of this, sometimes I wonder, do things happen because we are just selfish? I think 100% of the time that's why. And I can say I haven't lost anybody close to me within this pandemic, but so many people have died that, I have either encountered once upon a time in my life, or that my husband has known or have been close to. It makes you wonder, because the one thing he kept saying is we can't even leave our house. We can't even leave our homes and just go and hang out without, fearing that someone's going to take your life because they're jealous or envious. Because the harsh reality is that everybody didn't get affected by this pandemic. Everybody didn't lose a job or lose finances. But for those who did, it's almost like a slap in the face to open jobs back up, open stores back up, and allow people to go out. But because you haven't had a job, you can't even provide for your family. You can't go out and do the things that you see everybody else doing because you've been quarantined. You've been stuck in the house for the last couple of months, and you weren't able to make any money, or the stimulus check ran out, or the unemployment money is running out, and everything that people have become dependent on in this time is slowly but surely running out. And the one thing people keep saying is that, they don't want to pass another stimulus bill. They don't want to extend the stimulus bill because they're afraid that people aren't going to go back to work. But I don't know about those people. I can't speak for everybody else. But I can say for myself, a person who does battle anxiety, a person who has had panic attacks, being in the house, being cooped up, hasn't been the best thing for me. And I can honestly say that I can admit that honestly, that it has not been the easiest thing for me. The only thing that has really kept me sane is my relationship with God, staying spiritually connected, staying in my word, praying, connecting with other praying women. Because the reality, I needed that more now in this pandemic than I've ever needed it. Ever needed it. And sometimes we take it for granted. Like, for one, a lot of churches closed and went virtual. And when they started opening things back up, our church, we opened back up. But, now we're going back virtual. And one of the main things that was said was, well, I don't know about, what other church members have said or what anybody else may have said, but just in discussion, one of the things that came up was just like, people are so dependent on the house. People are so dependent on being inside the house. And for me, it's just like, it's a building, though. It's a building. We go there to connect. We go there to praise and to worship. But the reality of it is you tear down them four walls, what are you going to do? Because it isn't the walls that's doing the work. It isn't the building that's doing the work. We're doing the work to keep the house up. Will you pay your tithes? Will you faithful? Will you come and serve? That's how we keep the doors open. But when all else fails, if you can't seek spiritual connection with God outside of church, if you can't build a relationship with God outside of that building, staying in your word, praying, seeking after God, what makes you think you're going to be able to do it within four walls? And I think we've all become dependent on a place, on a thing. But Jesus didn't do his ministry in a church. God never told us we had to go into a building. He never said that. They built the house of prayer. But they never said that we had to go out here and build a church. God said, I will build my church. You build my kingdom. So when did it become more about building a building versus building up God's people so that we can come together and be that one body, so that we can be the church as a whole? The church was never about a building. It was all about that spiritual connection. I've heard people say, oh, well, y'all make a big deal, about communion, but the purpose of communion, whether it may seem ritualistic or you think it may seem as like we're it's ceremonial, but when God said that he was breaking the bread, and was representation of his body, and they drunk of the blood, and it was a representation, drunk the wine, it was a representation of his blood, and God said, do this in remembrance of me. He wasn't saying do this as a ritual. He was saying basically that when you keep covenant, when you come and you commune with your people, you're putting me back together. Remembering me, putting my body back together. And that's the whole purpose. But I think in this pandemic, we forgot a lot about that. We've forgotten about our original stance, our original purpose was to speak the word of God, to tell the world about God. But we're so caught up in skin. We're so caught up in color. We're so caught up in money and status and what other people may have that we don't have. And it's like, at the end of the day, God ain't thinking about that. That's man that thinks about that. All the things that we're fighting against are man-made. Racism, economy, the judicial system, our government. It's all man-made. And we're fighting against things that are man-made. But we aren't seeking God for guidance in how to do it. We're not asking God for guidance in how to turn things around, how to make things better. We just want to do it with our own hands. We feel like we have the power to do anything, but man has never had the power to do anything outside of the will of God. Man can't recreate man without God. You don't put that spirit in your child. You may plant the seed, but at the end of the day, if your body isn't healthy, how do you make it through a gestational period? If you're not taking care of your body, of what's inside of you, if you're not putting the right things inside of you, how do you spring life into this world? We don't do it on our own. God gives us that power to do it, because that's how God does it. There's a gestational period for everything that we do, everything. And we can't birth it, or we can't give birth to a new thing until we go through that period, whether it be 9 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years. You have to go through a period of building and making yourself healthy and restoring your body so that you can carry whatever it is that God wants you to carry, so that you can be better. But like I said, I feel like we forget that. We lose sight of that. And then when we do, when things fall apart, we throw it off on God. Oh, God, it's your fault. You did this. Where were you, God? What were you doing? To me, I feel like God is asking, what were you doing? Were you listening to me? When I told you to do a thing, did you do it? Are you doing the things that I've asked of you? Half of the time, no, and God still blesses us. Still blesses us. Breath in our bodies. Food in our bellies. Half of the time, we don't even have money to provide the things that we need. Those times when you don't have food in your house and you don't even have money to purchase it, but you don't go hungry because somebody thought about you. Somebody said, "Hey, I'm gonna go take them a meal," or "Hey, I'm gonna pay for their dinner today." That's God. We are God in our spirit, and we have to walk it out. We have to walk like God intended for us to walk. Lean on one another, help each other, build each other up, not tearing each other down. Like I said, this whole pandemic has just been hard. It really made me sit back and just think about my feelings on things, my ideals on things. And so far, a lot of things have lined up with what I originally believed. Now, I honestly do believe that there are agendas out here that are not meant to build us up as a people. And I feel like we take it and we run with it, but without asking questions. As long as it's along the lines of what we think in our minds is what we want, we'll accept it. And we won't ask questions. We won't do real research. We don't seek real information. And we feed our spirits with so many negative things, and never take the time to look for positive things. I said, I've been real silent. Haven't had really much to say. Because it hurts to turn on the news and look out into this world and see how it's falling apart. Because the things that were getting so much attention before, we're not even hearing about it anymore. For 2 months, all they talked about was COVID-19. Now you barely hear anybody talking about it. And when George Floyd got killed, that's all anybody was talking about was protesting and, justice for George Floyd, Black Lives Matter. But the moment they started painting streets and putting up signs, you don't see it anymore. And it makes me wonder, what is the real agenda? What exactly is going to happen on the other end? What exactly should we be preparing ourselves for? And that's what I always ask God. How do I prepare? What am I preparing for? Where do I need to be so that I'm in the right place? And in all of that, God just tells me, keep doing what you're doing. Keep praying. Keep seeking after me. Keep reading my word. Stay connected. And I think that's the main thing in this season is that we all need to stay connected spiritually. Get around some people who have positive energy, positive aura. Because those are the people that are going to pour into you. You need peace. Find somebody with a peaceful spirit. You need love. Find somebody with a loving heart. Whatever it is that you need to find somebody around you who is willing to pour those things into you, who are willing to give those things to you. Because we want to reap. We want to reap. We want to reap of the good soil. We want to reap from the good soil. But if we're not planting good seeds, what are we harvesting? Weeds, dead things. I want to harvest living things, things that are going to prosper. God always tells me, whatever I touch will prosper. Whatever I do with these hands will prosper. And I honestly believe that. I believe that I seek after God for purpose. I seek after God for understanding of my gifts. And because I ask God to take control, because I give God complete control, I've grown so much. I became so much better in myself, in my walk, in my spirit, in my family. And I know it's never going to be perfect, but that strive every day to be better. Strive to do more. Strive to be more connected with God. Strive to be more Christ-like. Strive to be that woman that God called me to be. That's what I do every day. Strive. And that's what we all have to do, is strive. That's one thing that this pandemic has taught me, is to strive. Don't let nothing get in your way. Don't let nothing stop you from reaching your goals, from completing a task. Because one thing I can say, man, before this pandemic started, we were preparing for our second show. Now, I've done a lot of ministry events. I've been in a lot of places, but we've only put on one show. So before this whole COVID-19 started, we were preparing for a show. And the moment that we began practicing, boom, quarantine. You can't go out, you can't touch. If you do, you gotta wear a mask. You only need to go to the store and home or to work and home. And you can't leave unless you have an essential pass. And the moment that it happened, I had a dream. And God just kept saying, prepare. And the whole time I'm like, God, what am I preparing for? What exactly is it I'm preparing for? I thought he was telling me to get myself ready, to minister, to to use my platform to draw people in. I thought that's what God was telling me to prepare for. But what he was really saying prepare for was prepare for this pandemic. Prepare your mind. Because the crazy thing is, when I left my job last year, people thought I was crazy for quitting. And I know people question me. Did she really hear from God? Did God really say that? But it literally came out of nowhere. I spent a lot of days by myself. I worked in the kitchen by myself. So I spent hour upon hour alone, where I only had time to listen to the word or to listen to God, because I was literally by myself. I would serve food. After I served the food, I would be cleaning or taking my time, because I knew once I got back to the main kitchen, it was going to be time to go. So I used that time to really seek after God. And I was listening to the word. Like, I heard clearly for God told me to leave. He told me to leave. And I heard it before, but I came back. And the thing is, the moment I walked in the door, the third year that I worked there was a guy there that came to me. And he was like, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here." And I was like, "I don't know." Fear took me back to a place that I wasn't supposed to be. But even in my disobedience to God the first time, this second time around, God was just like, "Listen to me. I have a plan." And then all these things started happening, and what I thought was about to take place in my life was, elevation. I thought God was telling me to leave my job so I could focus more on music and focus on my career and all of that, and where God was taking me. And in a sense, that is what it was, because it gave me it gave me time to really sit back and relax. It gave me more time with my kids. It gave me time to actually do things that I wanted to do. I didn't want to be away from my kids all the time. I didn't want to be gone all day and then come home and be super tired and not be able to do homework with my kids. Spending so much time focused on other things, or coming home angry because I'm working myself to the bone for a company who could care less about me. So when God said move, I moved. And I even asked God for a sign. I was like, "God, just show me, like, what is it that, you're trying to get me to understand." So I was like, "God, if you really want me to leave, just give me a sign." And that day, literally, I went and sat down and had lunch, and it started snowing. And I know that snow means new beginnings. It means a cleansing, a fresh start. But it literally started snowing in the middle of the day. And I'm calling, I called my mom, I called my husband. I was like, "Is it snowing where y'all are?" And they was like, "What? What are you talking about?" I was like, "I'm literally sitting at this table eating lunch and it's snowing outside." And they was like, you losing your mind." I was like, "No, it snowed for 5 minutes straight." And God never does anything out of order, because there was definitely a witness there. My coworker was sitting right beside me, and I was telling her this exact thing of what I heard God say and how I asked God to give me a sign. And it literally started snowing. And she's like, "What the heck? Like, why is it snowing in the middle of the day?" It was hot as crap. It was in the middle of the summer. We were in the middle of summer. School had just started, literally. I would say maybe a month or so into the school. And I had heard this while I was working. So I knew that was going to be my last year there. But I just had to stick it out. And when it started snowing in the middle of summer, and it snowed for 5 minutes straight, everybody was like, "Oh, well, the government be messing with the weather." I was like, "Yo, I don't care what the government did." To me, that was a sign. I asked God to show me something, and my husband had a dream as well. Right after that, he never knew what I prayed. He never knew what God had told me. But even out of his own mouth, he said that he had a dream that we were in a new house and it was snowing outside. And he asked me, "What did the snow be?" And I was like, "Well, I know from what God told me that snow means a cleansing. Snow means a new beginning. So something is about to happen." And it's crazy because we had just moved into our house. Our rent had increased. And it's like, "God, you telling me to leave?" I didn't have no job, no other source of income. So it was literally going to fall on my husband. And all God kept saying was prepare, prepare, prepare. So I stayed home, taking my kids to school every day, working out, doing the things that I wanted to do. And all the time I'm asking God, "Why'd you tell me to leave work? Why'd you tell me to leave work? Why'd you tell me to leave work?" He just kept saying, "Prepare, prepare, prepare." I kept having dreams, and he was showing me, "Prepare, prepare, prepare." So when this COVID-19 happened, the first thing I asked was, God, what are you doing? He said, didn't I tell you to prepare? So I was like, okay, you said prepare. I'm just going to wait it out. You know that during this COVID-19, we didn't lack anything. We lacked nothing. And it's because before the pandemic, we had already learned how to keep our household on track with just one income. We had already learned how to survive with lack. And my husband, his job was essential, so he did not lose his job. But still, that lack of income prepared us for the COVID. It prepared us for what we needed to be ready for. Sorry, I had to pause for a second. I was ordering some food. But yeah, God had prepared us for this already. So we didn't experience any lack during this season. But like I said, what the part that was the most taxing for me was being locked in. Was being, stuck in the house and not able to do anything. But even in that, I didn't let my mind be taken away. I was secure enough in myself where I knew that God would protect me, that God wouldn't allow me to become anxious. And yeah, there were definitely times where I felt like having a fit, like I just wanted to just lose it, but God wouldn't allow me to. I had already been through so much last year, so many things that could have broke me, but I still didn't fall apart. My father died last year. I didn't allow that to break me, and as hard as it was, I couldn't allow it. I couldn't allow it into my life. I couldn't allow myself to be so grief-struck that I couldn't move on. So I promised myself that anything that came my way, I would use it as a stepping stone. No matter how hard it was, I would use it as a stepping stone. Because in everything, there's always something about what we go through that we don't like. There's always something within our test that makes us question, that makes us wonder, should I be here? Why am I doing this? Is this you, God? There's always something within the test that we battle that makes us wonder. But God tells us, we should be looking at it as if we're going from glory to glory, not hardship to hardship. Because at the end of the day, when you overcome, when you come out and when you walk out of it alive and you didn't die, there's a peace that comes over you. There's an overwhelming love that comes over you because you know that you are protected. You know that God was with you the entire time. And I can honestly say that God has been with me the entire time. And I've experienced some great things. I've experienced elevation spiritually in ways I never thought that I would. God has taken me to new levels, has opened doors for me in my life, has showed me things that I never thought I would experience. And it has all happened during this COVID. So when I look at all the things that have been going around and just how bad it has gotten, it's like that's what we lost. We lost our sense of humanity. We lost our connection with God. We lost that sense of peace, that sense of love. Because things got hard. Because things got heavy. Now people saying, we're in a recession. We're in a recession. We're in a recession. The only people who are in a recession are the people who weren't already wealthy. The ones who didn't have a savings. The ones who weren't ready. Because the reality of it is, there are plenty of people in this world who were not ready for this thing. But they had something to fall back on. And yeah, I know a lot of people are losing businesses. A lot of people are losing money. But you give away money all the time. People are giving away money constantly. But when you're forced to lose, when you have absolutely no choice but to endure lack, that's a completely different thing. When you don't choose lack, when you didn't give away something that caused your lack, people lose their minds, man. People are losing their minds in this pandemic because of lack. We all think differently. We all see different. God is with us. He's never left us.